Good morning, second graders. Today is Tuesday, May 5th, and it is Cinco de Mayo. That's what we're going to be talking about today. It's all about Cinco de Mayo. I came in costume, got to wrap my sombrero for our Mexican culture. So what we're going to do today is watch a cute little video all about Cinco de Mayo, because what is Cinco de Mayo? Unless you have a lot of Mexican heritage, you might not know what Cinco de Mayo is.
Now I have to admit, I love to go out to a nice restaurant and have dinner with my family. Of course, when it's time to go out, we like to ask each other, where do we want to go? And we start talking back and forth until we find the perfect restaurant that everybody wants to eat at. I have to admit, I always ask to go out to my favorite Mexican restaurant. That's right, I love Mexican food, and I love
What's your favorite Mexican restaurant?
the spices and the way the food tastes. So up next, I'd like to talk about one of my favorite holidays during the year, Cinco de Mayo. Many people know about the holiday across the United States and of course in Mexico. But right now, I want to share a few fun facts for kids and family about the celebration of Cinco de Mayo. Now, starting things off, if you don't know Spanish, that's okay, because I am here to tell you that Cinco de Mayo stands for the 5th of May. For example, in Mexico, did you know that Cinco de Mayo is a Mexican national holiday? The reason it is a national holiday is because Cinco de Mayo celebrates the victory of the Mexicans over the French in 1862 at the Battle of Puebla. In history, the battle began while Mexico tried to stop the French, who were given orders by Napoleon III to come and take over their country. Another interesting fact about this time in history is that the Mexican people were underdogs. And that's right,
Underdogs means that they probably weren't favored to win.
they were outmanned with only 4,000 soldiers. During this battle, the Mexicans went up against 6,500 French soldiers and won the battle that day. This battle would continue on for over 6 years until the Mexican people were victorious. Speaking of holidays, one of my favorite holidays that is celebrated is the 4th of July. That's right, Independence Day is a huge part of the United States culture. But one thing about Independence Day from Mexico, it is commonly confused with Cinco de Mayo. Many people think that Cinco de Mayo represents Mexican Independence Day, but it does not. Cinco de Mayo is a celebration for the defeat of the French army at the Battle of Puebla, and Mexican Independence Day is celebrated each year on September 16th. Another big thing about Cinco de Mayo that Americans celebrate is the fact that if it weren't for the Mexican army defeating the French at the Battle of Puebla, the French would have taken over the region. This would have later been really bad during the Civil War because the French would have been able to help the Confederate Army who was fighting the Union to take over the United States. So the United States that we know of today would be completely different because instead of the Union winning, the Confederate Army may have stood a better chance of beating the North with the French's help. So now if you had to guess what city in Mexico really turns up for Cinco de Mayo throughout the country, it would of course be Puebla. It is one of the top spots for celebrating the holiday. But for your average Mexican in Mexico, Cinco de Mayo is not really celebrated like it is here in the United States. Now there in Puebla, Mexico, their celebrations aren't quite like what you would see here in the United States. For example, you might think that you're in the Wild West because when celebrating Cinco de Mayo in Puebla, Mexico, they like to wear costumes that look like they are dressing up for a Western movie. There is also sometimes a reenactment of the Mexicans' victory over the French troops that took place. Now, back here in the United States, the typical celebrations are like any other holiday. Of course, there is food, drinks, festivals, parades, and the music is brought to you by mariachi bands. Actually, the United States is the home to the largest Cinco de Mayo celebration in the world. That's right, it takes place in Los Angeles, California, and it's called Fiesta Broadway. Each year, Fiesta Broadway takes over the city of Los Angeles and draws close to 500,000 people to come down and party. Needless to say, I'm sure the city employees have a lot of work on their hands once this party is done. So with the victory of Puebla and the celebration of Cinco de Mayo becoming a tradition for many families, I hope you enjoyed these fun facts about the Cinco de Mayo holiday right here on Welcome to Fresburg.
Right on. Isn't it kind of silly that we celebrate Cinco de Mayo a little bit more than the Mexican people do? It's kind of weird, right? But it's also a big holiday for everyone. We all get to celebrate. So, For your assignment today in Seesaw, we're talking about writing again. And when we talk about writing, if I just said, the sky is blue, I like to eat, the dog is fuzzy, super boring, right? Sounds pretty mild. Because, like, when we're talking about salsa, there's mild salsa. It's not very spicy, right? But when we're writing sentences and we're writing, we want our sentences to be spicy. We want them to be full of flavor and exciting to read. So you're going to write some spicy sentences in today's Seesaw assignment, okay? So what you'll do is you'll fill in the sentences because it gives you a mild, boring sentence. And then you'll get to add all the spice and flavor you want to it to make them more flavorful to read, because it's way more exciting to read flavorful, spicy sentences than it is to read mild, boring sentences. So, happy writing, and I'll see you tomorrow.